Hello and welcome to Jay's Log. Today is September 22nd. It is 11:57 p.m. and today was the equinox. And something I like to do on the equinox is balancing an egg, which I did today. This is the egg I balanced. Very proud of it. It did not take me very long. Um Today we're going to talk about balance because in this very polarized world, balance is important. And I think something that is important to balance is the ability to hold multiple possibilities, multiple timelines within your belief system and not to get stuck on one. And I think that the Charlie Kirk situation is a really good example. And I'm going to use it to illustrate how you can have multiple different possibilities and you can entertain multiple possibilities without getting stuck on one of them. And that allows you to figure out things eventually by just entertaining all the different possibilities instead of getting stuck in your belief system. So I'm going to start with something that Kash Patel said. We're going to start at 22 seconds of this 44-second clip.
Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
So a very good question is asked right here. What does Patel's message to Kirk about Valhalla mean? Now, of course, Valhalla is the heaven equivalent from Norse mythology, and it could be a simple reference to that. It could be a simple reference to that type of Valhalla. But there are some interesting things that I noticed. And one of them is on this image of Tyler Robinson. If you look at this screen, you see that he is on a map. This is a map of something. And this is not something I figured out, but some sleuths figured out where exactly that is. And it is this spot on this island right off the coast of New Zealand. And it's called Goat Island. And notice this spot here. And if we go back over here, that is the same spot. You can see the way the shoreline is here. It matches the way the shoreline is here. The way the trees are matches the way the trees are here. So this is the island. Now, something that I found very interesting is that there are people who are talking about something called Valhalla Resort being on this island. And the interesting thing is that this has gotten very hard to find. So, this Distractify article is one of the few articles by anything of any amount of noteworthiness and that talks about this. So a lot of people were talking about this resort in New Zealand that the word is called Valhalla. This is reportedly a picture of it. I'm going to have to see if we can find that. on somewhere, because when I was looking into this earlier, I was having difficulty finding stuff. And that is suspicious because I saw a lot of people talking about this. And the word on the street is that that is where they put witness protection people. And the theory that comes from this, if Tyler Robinson had that on his screen, he knows about that. And Tyler Robinson did have this thing on his screen. This is a legitimate picture. This is not Photoshop. This is not AI. This is from a legitimate source. This is in other sources as well. So this picture here is legit, or at least seems legit. So, and these are not, I would say, great news sources, but we're really not trusting news sources these days. So every news source comes with a grain of salt. How do I get this ad out of the way? Don't buy any ad you see on here. Actively don't buy their product. This podcast does not contain ads, at least right now. Someone wants to pay me to talk about their product and have a good product, I'm not opposed to it. Holy crap, why is there nothing? Where's the article? Oh, it's behind that paywall. Anyways, the theory is that when Kash Patel says, "I'll see you in Valhalla," he actually means, "I will see you on the Valhalla Resort on Goat Island." And that is something that's possible. And I think that just the fact that that is possible is problematic, because we shouldn't be considering that as a possibility. It should not be that the FBI or whatever organization was known to do things like that. So just to be clear, the theory here is that both Charlie Kirk and, gosh, I keep on forgetting his name. Tyler Robinson were agency plants. They could be of multiple different agencies. Unclear. An interesting thing is that apparently the agencies like to recruit from the Mormon population. And they are disproportionately represented in the population of the Bureau and the agency. And this is an article talking about it. Yeah, it's common knowledge in Washington. Anyways, him being a Mormon and going to a Mormon school is a little bit suspicious. And you have to just know a little bit about how these organizations work to understand that. So it's possible that he was in on the plan, and that he was then sent to Valhalla along with Charlie Kirk. They're both sent there, is the theory. Or perhaps Charlie Kirk actually was killed, and this guy was then going to Valhalla. But I think it's most likely that they're all in on it, and there's some play that Charlie was in on, perhaps. Or perhaps he was taken out. Regardless, this Valhalla situation is a possibility, and you can entertain that in your head at the same time as the possibility that it is what it actually seems. You don't have to get stuck on a belief. You can entertain that there's a major conspiracy here, and you can look into it. You shouldn't disregard the possibility that there's more to it than they're telling us, because there's a lot of really weird stuff that is happening. The bullet not coming out of the neck, that could be because it was really blood packets that were put on one side of the neck. They only did one wound, and then when the behind shot was shown and there was no exit wound, then they had to come up with an explanation for what happened. You have to remember, if this is orchestrated by people at the top, they have a lot of power in terms of who does an autopsy, which apparently no autopsy was even done. Let me check on that. All right, so the autopsy was done. No exit wound confirmed. No official coroner's report yet. The surgeon is saying that Charlie Kirk's bone density stopped the round just beneath the skin, and that this is normally used to hunt elk and moose. And they're saying that it didn't exit his neck, that it went into his neck and stopped in his neck. I think they could have faked it. I'm not saying they did fake it, but I'm saying it's a possibility. They could have had a blood packet explode and have him slump over and then get carted off and then sent to New Zealand. They could have done that. That's entirely within the realm of possibility of things that the government can do. Because if Trump wanted that to happen, who's going to stop him? Nobody can stop him from doing that. And is this the first time we've been lied to by the government? No. So perhaps it's like the boy who cried wolf. They have lied to us so many times that we see something and we're immediately like, that doesn't look right. What are you actually doing? Is it you who did this? Is it a foreign country who did this? And that's just how it is, because they've chosen to lie to us so much. They've lost our trust. And we have to deal with that. Now, I do want to talk about the Erica Kirk thing, because I listened to her speech in full, And honestly, it was very touching. But the thing is that I can't tell who wrote it. I don't think that people should come after her saying that she is a honeypot or anything like that, because she seems to be legitimately mourning the loss of her husband, and I think that it would be pretty messed up if my husband was just shot and then people online were like, oh, that person didn't actually love them. That person was just trying to get something out of them. That's pretty messed up. And I don't think that people should be pushing that theory. Again, is it possible? I don't know, probably. Like that's possible. But I don't think that it's likely, and I think that there are a lot of other leads to follow before going down that one, which can really hurt someone who's in mourning right now. But she gave a speech. It was very Jesus centered, and I honestly thought it was a very good speech. She forgave Tyler Robinson, um, and told people not to be violent. And I think that is what needed to really be told to a lot of these people who are very angry. Yeah, there's a lot of things that the government might lie to us about. I'm going to bring up one just in case. So there's this theory called blue beam, which is based off of a supposed name of a paper. I have to type project in here. So this conspiracy theory is that the government is planning to fake an alien invasion or fake the second coming. These are both options, and the idea behind it is that they want to create a new world order by implementing a new age religion headed by the Antichrist, using advanced technology. Technology they would use for this would be stuff like holograph technology. They could also use the reverse engineered aerial platforms that have been developed in the black budget programs to make it look like an alien invasion. I do see two big possibilities, but people are talking about Rapture tomorrow. What if they actually did that? What if they faked the second coming? They faked a rapture and convinced people to go along with whatever was going on. Said, "Oh my gosh, it's the second coming. This is Jesus back," but really it's the Antichrist. This is something I would suggest looking more into. I don't feel like digging super into it right now. But to get you started on it, apparently Warren von Braun was talking about this on his deathbed.
And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. A lie. I think I was too naive to know at that time the seriousness of the nature of the spin that was being put on the system. And now the pieces are starting to fall into place. We're building a space-based weapon system based on a premise that is a lie, a spin. And Wernher von Braun was trying to hint that to me back in the early 70s and right up until the moment when he died in 1977. What he told me is that there's an accelerated effort in place. He didn't mention a timeline, but he said that it was going to be speeding up faster than anybody could possibly imagine. That the effort to put weapons in space was not only based on a lie, but would accelerate past the point of people even understanding it until it was already up there and too late. When von Braun was dying in front of me the very first day that I met him, he had tubes draining out of his side. And he was tapping on the desk telling me, "You will come to Fairchild." I was a school teacher. "You will come to Fairchild and you will be responsible for keeping weapons out of space." And the way he said it with the intenseness in his eyes, and added that very first day, the first time I met him, that space-based weapons were a dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, untestable, unworkable idea. And that the last card that was being held was the extraterrestrial enemy card. The intensity with which he said that made me realize that he knew something that he was too afraid to mention. He was too afraid to talk about it. He would not tell me the details. I'm not sure that I would have absorbed them if he had told me the details or even believed him in 1974. But there was no question that that man knew, and had a need to know, I found out later. There's no doubt in my mind that Wernher von Braun knew about the extraterrestrial issue.
So that's really interesting. I would suggest looking into that more. Wernher von Braun, in case you're not aware who he is the lead scientist of the Saturn V moon rocket program. And he was also the inventor of the rocket, essentially. He's the father of modern rocketry. He made the V2 rocket, which was a Nazi rocket. And he was originally a Nazi. And he came over as part of Project Paperclip. Project Paperclip was one of the first things that the agency did. They brought over 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians who were Nazis. And then they hired them as the government. And several were confirmed to be former members of the Nazi Party, including the SS or the SA. So these guys got power and survived instead of having to face justice for the crimes that they committed. They were brought over here and given a bunch of money and said, "Hey, can you do science for us to make weapons?" And yeah, 1,600 Nazis brought over at between these years. And he was one of them. But there's a whole bunch of other. Has been valued at $10 billion in patents and industrial processes. So paid off, I guess. But you're literally hiring Nazis. And it was not focused solely on rocketry, but it was mostly NASA they're going to. Also, real quick, huh? Interesting. I'm hearing a lot of people saying that NASA translates to deceive. I actually don't know Hebrew well enough to know for sure. Interesting. Anyways, um, that's something that could be lied to us about. And I think that is important to especially talk about that one because the way that they won't be able to play it off is if people know it's a possibility. A lot of people talk about Project Bluebeam, but I haven't seen people talking about it recently. And if I were to pull it off, I would do it on the day that people thought the rapture was going to happen anyways. And then they're like, oh my God, it's actually happening. And then they pull out their phones and they record these holograms and reverse engineered spacecraft or whatever. And they post it onto their TikTok and their Instagram. And then those get millions of views. And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's happening. It's actually happening. And that's how I would pull it off if I was going to do it. Now, I'm hoping that's not what happens, but if it does happen, I said it before it did. Now, I think that's enough conspiracy talk for right now because really do want to talk about the balance aspect of it. And it really is key to find the balance of holding these beliefs, pursuing these threads, and also living your life and not living in dread and having fun. That's a very key balance to have. And I really do my best to do that. I'm not holed up all day doing conspiracies every day. Some days I do that. Like, not gonna lie, some days I'll just sit around, scroll on my phone, look up stuff. But I also go do stuff outside. I'm gonna be playing in a cave this weekend. I already played in a cave before, and we're gonna go back and do it again. So that's really something that is really important is to find balance in your life. And I think also something to talk about is, I guess, back to the conspiracies. We're at this state in reality where it's perfectly balanced in that it feels like we're still in the old state where the veil was over most people's eyes. They didn't realize what was going on. But probably like half of people realize that we're being led by people who have done absolutely disgusting, terrible things, not to children and also to the rest of us too. And also that there's more out there than just us. And that they're already here. And people have been figuring that out, but we're just now reaching the tipping point where that is the majority main belief. And it's really been a long time coming. I'm actually curious. Let's see. What percent of people believe in UFOs? So the belief has gone +8 in those 2 years, which is a pretty big swing. Let's see if we can find more recently. This is a key thing. If extraterrestrials wanted to take us out, they would have already. We've been attacking them. There was just recently a video that got released of a Hellfire missile getting hit. This was released by Congress. I know it's on TMZ, but that's just the first place that I found it.
Feel healthier, and
We'll come back to that in a second. So majority of people think that UFOs are probably evidence of life outside of Earth, and this was 4 years ago, so it's more than that now. And most think they're not a threat to national security, and that is right, because if they were a threat, they would have done something already. What? Oh my god, it makes me watch it? That's disgusting. While this is going on, I want to talk about the GLP-1 what was it? Ozempic stuff that they're trying to sell here. It's Gila monster venom. They make it from Gila monster venom. And then it causes all sorts of stuff. Ozempic linked to 3 eye conditions. I'm just pulling up some stuff. Don't go on Ozempic. It's not good. That's not even a bad one. Yeah, here's a bunch of them. Don't go on it. Anyways, let's continue this GLP-1 ad. Don't buy their stuff. Unskippable too. Disgusting. Unskippable, and I can't go onto another page. Like, are you for real here? So this video was just released by Congress. That's a Hellfire missile. And it just kind of... Hold on. So that's the target. It is rather annoying. Yeah, so it kept on flying afterwards, basically.
Possibility.
So here's some screenshots. Oh, by the way, this got like very little coverage because this is on TMZ. It's not getting coverage by mainstream media. And you know what that tells you? It tells you that it's not a distraction. It tells you that it's legitimate, that these UFOs are real, that they don't want you to know about them, because if they did want you to know about them, they would be talking about them all the time. You know what day this hearing was on? It was on the 9th, and then we all know what happened the day after that, and people weren't talking about it because they were talking about what I was talking about at the beginning of this. So between those two things, if you're going to talk about which one's a distraction, it's the one I talked about first. This one, I think, is one of the most important issues that we're currently facing. And if you really want to understand why, I would recommend watching the documentary called The Lost Century by Stephen Greer. He is someone who has been documenting stuff for quite a while. You can find it in full right here on YouTube. And it talks about how this cover-up of this technology has kept us back like 100 years in technology. We should be so far further than we are right now. But they've been keeping this technology secret. And like,
would try to breach that circle. They were trying 3 ways to get into this craft. Number 1 was a diamond tip drill bit. So we've got 2 cases of this now. Number 2 was an acetylene torch. That failed. And then the final attempt was bringing in 2 18-wheeler tractor-trailer lowboy trucks that had these very high-voltage generating devices, and they were using a laser to get into this craft.
So, yeah, basically the idea here is that they've been reverse engineering these craft with our taxpayer dollars, and they haven't been giving us the technology from them. I'd really like the technology because they probably have some good energy production technology. They probably have some good propulsion technology, and they're not giving it to us, and they spent our money on it. And if we had that technology, the world would be a better place, because right now that technology is in the wrong hands. It is in the hands of military contractors. It should be in the hands of the people. And maybe some of that technology shouldn't necessarily get out because it'll be weaponized. But the stuff that would really help us should get out. The energy production should get out. And also you got to consider that there is other technologies that they probably have gotten from this. One that I think is important to talk about right now is voice to skull technologies. Now, this is a theory that they have a technology that is able to transmit audio signals into someone's head. And this is definitely something they've done a lot of research on, because it makes sense that you would be able to do that if you projected the right frequencies into someone's head. And you're like, oh, there's no way that it could be that accurate. Did you know that they can read your emotions with a Wi-Fi router? Let me find the actual... There. Detecting emotions with wireless signal. So they're able to, with a normal Wi-Fi router, read your breathing and your heart rhythm and tell what you're feeling. That is the ability of a normal Wi-Fi router that you have in your house. They can also look through walls. Imagine what if they had, I don't know, $1 billion. That's basically chump change for these dark budget programs to figure out how to make something that could project things into your head, especially if they had something that they could reverse engineer from one of these down craft. That would explain things like that guy who killed that poor Ukrainian girl. Poor, not like money wise, but in that she got stabbed in the neck. He apparently was saying that he was being controlled, that voices were being put in his head. And you can say that that's mental illness, but it's also possible that it's this voice to skull technology. And this is another instance of balance, that you can hold both of those beliefs, that they're both possible. You don't have to choose a belief. You can hold beliefs in a supposition of possibilities, much like with the Schrodinger's cat. You can hold both of those beliefs simultaneously until it is revealed to you which one it is. And you're more likely to have it be revealed to you if you hold both of the beliefs simultaneously and don't get stuck on one or the other. That's how you find truth. I want to pull up the audio that was from that guy talking to his sister. And there's another one I'm going to see if I can find. So they're saying that he said that the government implanted materials. That's not actually what he said. He said that the government exposed him to materials.
Attention law enforcement.
And that it was basically this mind control voice in his head thing that a doctor, if this is real, a doctor would write it off as schizophrenia, because schizophrenia isn't well understood and doctors aren't going to believe a guy saying that his thoughts project in his head. But it is possible to do that. It is possible to do that. I'm not finding the one that I had earlier that had the actual recording from. Where are... I don't want all this words about it. I just want to hear the audio. Primary sources, please. Did it say it was on the Daily Mail? I saw that somewhere. Yes. Are you kidding me? Alright, he isn't the only person who's claimed this. So this guy who killed himself outside of an amusement park, this was really suspicious. It says, I'm not a killer. I just want to get into the caves. It's something that is possible. Not saying that it's true. Something that is possible is that they are using directed energy devices to send things into people's heads, to basically put these voices in people's heads that repeatedly tell them to do something. And we know that they were looking into mind control. That is what MK Ultra was about. MK Ultra and the predecessors to it, because this was technically halted in 1973. 1973, really quickly, was the year that they privatized pretty much everything. All these, they privatized things in 1973, which is the last year that I have FOIA documents for this program that I requested, on where they were building a submarine. Let's see if I can find my documents. So they talk about it here. But I have my own documents that, let me pull them up. Where's the egg? That was a Dropbox page. There. Oh, where's my Dropbox? So anyways, these are these things that they basically tunnel through by heating stuff up. They actually work. And we go to this FOIA folder that I have, subterraneans. So they sent me these documents because I asked for them. And Los Alamos was working on these. starting in 1970. Essentially what they do is they create these tunnels. I really don't understand why Elon Musk isn't using these, cuz like he totally should be, cuz if I was to have my own company, I'd be working on this instead of the same thing everything else was making. And the big benefits of these is that it basically encoats the tunnel in a coating of obsidian, which is basically like glass, which would be perfect for his Hyperloop stuff. But for some reason, he's not using this. So that was the same one. But let's see. What year is this one? This one's 1973. So it ended after this. They were doing like different shapes and stuff like that. But it ended in 1973. Yeah, so would be used to connect deep underground bases, also known as DUMBs. And they could build Hyperloops or whatever sort of transportation they want on them, and they wouldn't be alerting people on the surface because since these use melting, there's not a vibration that you have associated with a drill. It is much quieter. And it's very likely that they further developed this technology in the past 50 years, and then they've been using this to create tunnels between their bases. That just makes a lot of sense to me. Like, if you really look into this, the stuff with non-human intelligence probably started with Eisenhower. If you really want to look into documents, go to, like I mentioned, Stephen Greer earlier. He has a thing with all these documents that whistleblowers have came forward with. All right, here. So, the Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive, dpiarchive.com. So you can like search for files and stuff on here. And it'll show you stuff because there's a lot of people who have been talking about this. So, I'm showing you a lot of things to look down. I'm giving you a lot of stuff. I'm telling you, use balance. Don't jump into something and immediately believe it. Like, I believe that there's subterraneans because I got documents that I requested, not because I'm just going off of nothing. Like, I have the documents where they talk about these things working. And then also, I know in 1973, they put all these things in the private sector so they don't have to respond to FOIA requests, because if it's in the private sector, that document is owned by a private company that is getting paid by the government, and they don't have to report. Anyways, it is 12:53 on September 23rd now. I'm going to wrap things up, but yeah, stay balanced out there and keep your head on a swivel because things are looking shifty. But I also believe that things are going to work out, and we just need to watch how things play out, because people are waking up and people are not liking what they're seeing when they wake up. Anyways, have a good night, or whatever time you're listening to this. My name is Jay, and this has been Jay's Log. Goodbye.